Hey, I'm Scott,
And I'm Chris.
and this is Doxologic, where we help you think with your Bible.
All right, first question reads like this. Do angels have free will?
That's the whole question, huh?
Yeah.
Usually questions are multitudinous,
They get
several.
they're like bigger as we keep going.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a direct scriptural warrant for saying yes or no? I'm inclined to say no, depending on what you mean by free will. That's
You'd
I
have
think
to define free
that's
will.
what people often don't do, is they assume the absoluteness of free will, or they assume free will means certain things that I just think biblically go contrary.
Mm-hmm.
So first and foremost, I think that's part of an issue.
Yeah, I think you would probably be asking that because of what it says about Satan falling like lightning from the sky and his punishment as a result of elevating himself to wanting to be like God. And as a result, it would seem that there's some level of free will built into that choice that Satan made to Lucifer to fundamentally disobey the authority of God, the majesty of God, and decide to elevate himself instead. So that would be what my guess would be in terms of free will. But again, that word free will, people love the term free will. And that's not really the point of the question, except I think it's helpful to define it. But in the least, there is some sense of will.
Will or
Of the angels.
agency
Agency,
maybe and choice, but we're not concerned that still, like, one by one any given day an angel
Yeah.
sins and is individually, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
That's not the picture that we get anywhere in the
No.
scriptures. Isaiah 14 and then Ezekiel 28 are common places that are seen as describing Lucifer or Satan's fall from heaven. Isaiah 14 verses 12 through 14. How you are fallen from heaven, O day star, son of dawn. How you are cut down to the ground, you who laid the nations low. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. Above the stars of God, I will set my throne on high. I will sit on the mount of assembly in the far reaches of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. And then Ezekiel 28 is another, not just version, but description of that, where we understand that punishment, not to mention that Jesus says, I saw Satan falling from heaven. But I would say, because of how simple the question is, I would want to probably nuance it, in terms of like free will depending on what. So a degree of agency, particularly to Satan and the many, a third of the angels that were cast out of heaven, but not in some sense that on any given day they continue to fall into sin.
Yeah.
Particularly like we would. There are significant differences for what we as image bearers of God. They're also not said anywhere to be made in the image of God. Many different angelic beings are mentioned. Angels is only one of them, right? The cherubim and the seraphim and things like that. And so it does get very interesting, and we do butt up against either mystery or just our finite ability to understand. And certain mysteries belong to the Lord. Many mysteries belong to the Lord in that.
Yeah. What you
A couple interesting verses just to consider in this. One would be 2 Peter 2:4, which says, "For if God did not spare angels when they sinned," so some agency there,
Yeah.
but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment. If he did not spare the ancient world, but preserved Noah, so on and so forth, he's making in them example, then the Lord knows how to rescue the ungodly from trials. And so there is a mention there. And of course, I would go to Jude. I think Jude's an interesting text as well. Jude 6 says, "And the angels who did not stay within their own position of authority," so that's what we were talking about earlier, defying the authority of God, "who didn't stay in their position of authority, but left their proper dwelling, he is kept in eternal chains under gloomy darkness until the judgment of the great day. Just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding cities, which likewise indulged in sexual immorality and pursued unnatural desire, serve as an example by undergoing a punishment of eternal fire." So they're definitely going to be held accountable.
Yeah.
And then you see the holy angels, if you just go a few verses forward to, let's just start in verse 14 of Jude. It was also about these that Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied, saying, Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment on all and to convict all the ungodly of all their deeds of ungodliness that they have committed in such an ungodly way, and of all the harsh things that ungodly sinners have spoken against him. These are grumblers, malcontents, following their own sinful desires. They are loudmouth boasters, showing favoritism to gain advantage. So then you see the role of the righteous angels and their responsibility as servants of the Most High God to execute and be involved in the judgment process. And so, Chris, I think you gave some interesting little nuances there to be aware of. Like, we're not expecting angels to keep,
Individually
another angel
sinning
fell and
yeah.
that kind of idea, but rather that there is a distinction and there is sin in the picture and there is volition in that sin. And so I think there's good indication that those scriptures would speak to that answer.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
Good.
Cool.
You've been listening to Doxologic, a podcast by Doxa Church in Rockland, California. To learn more, visit us online at doxa.church.